Okay, so after that very enlivening session where we've all been asked to do some work, we continue to work, and this time we're going to, we go on to the nitty-gritty of the English Language Quality Standards program. And because we know you love asking questions, so this time I'll do the asking of questions. Won't give you a chance to begin with, and we have these two very energetic people out here to answer these questions. Because these, we feel, are the frequently asked questions about the program, but somewhere along the line, we'll ask you to come out with any further queries you have. So, who's going to talk about this? What is the English Language Quality Standards program?
It's a collaborative initiative looking at raising standards in English language teaching in private English medium schools in India.
Okay. And what is its aim?
I've just answered that question. That was a mistake, wasn't it? I'm sorry about that.
We'd like you to...
I was going to answer that question by saying
dwell
John's
more
just
on
answered
that.
this question. So, yeah, good.
We want you to speak a little more about that.
Exactly. Let us just add a bit of flesh to that. So, it's a quality assurance mechanism. It's a quality assurance scheme, and it looks at what schools do in 10 different areas. Okay, and the first area is?
The answer actually is in your pack. It's in this booklet here. I don't know them off by heart either. But if you, in your packet today, you've got this booklet which sets out the 10 areas, the 10 standards. And the first one is the area of program design.
That's right, the syllabus.
Okay. The second area is to do with teachers and teaching. There are standards related to that area. The third area is to do with resources, the range of resources that you've got available to support teaching and learning. And the fourth area is about the management of the English language provision within the school.
Okay, and how are those things assessed? Well, Ashok mentioned it in his session. They are assessed through observation of teachers.
They're assessed by examination of documentation.
And they're assessed by talking in focus groups to teachers.
And parents.
And students.
And would you like to dwell a little more on the documentation? You're not going to get out of this easily. Okay. Please tell us about documentation.
Okay, documentation. For example, the syllabus that you have for each standards.
Indeed.
For example, the tests that you give to measure the language proficiency of your students, for example.
Indeed.
For example, the materials that you use in the classroom. So a list of the materials that you use in the classroom. The qualifications of your teachers.
Well, absolutely. But equally importantly, while we're talking about things like syllabuses and we're looking at things like feedback from your students, it's not just the actual documents that we're looking at. We're asking you to, and we're looking at, the analyses that you've done of the feedback, the action plans that you've drawn up as a result of the feedback, the support that you're providing to the teachers in terms of implementing the syllabus, the outcomes of the syllabus or the learner outcomes that students are working towards, how are those documented and what form do they take? So one set of documentation sort of leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, but they're all connected to, all the documentation that we're interested in is connected to the 4 general areas, to the standards that the scheme is looking to evaluate.
Right, so we've got enormous amount of information being collected in the schools, which is there. But you know, we need to know what we're going to do, and we shouldn't really be collecting information which we're not doing anything with. So it works both ways. And it helps us to see that whatever data we're collecting, whether it's in terms of question papers, It's not enough to have a set of question papers and say, yes, they're documented. Why? And have we analyzed them, and what do we feel about them, and where do we go? So who is it for?
Okay, who is it for? It's for you. It's
Thank you.
It's for English medium schools. So it's for all of the people that in some way are connected with English medium schools. The principal,
Oh, well, indeed.
the teachers, the students, and the parents. It's for anybody and everybody that has a stake in the quality of what's delivered at the school.
Good. And the focus, who is it for? Because there was this little discussion towards the end of the last session about, is this focused on the teacher or is it focused on the institution? And this is overtly focused on the institution. It's the institution that it's for, but as indeed, as we've said, that means looking at the inputs and the relationship of the institution to the parents, to the students, and to the teachers. So all of those people are involved, although the overt focus is on the school as an institution.
Why should you be interested?
Because it's really exciting.
It is really exciting. It's for those people who work in institutions, English medium schools, who are interested in improving what they're doing. It's for individuals within those institutions who not just interested in improving what they're doing, but want to know how they can best do that. Because along with the standards and the implicit improvement that's part of those standards, the program, the whole program, provides resources for teachers and for principals, people that work in the school, to help them to understand for them, in their context, what they can do to improve the quality.
And actually, that is exciting. I mean, I said that a moment or two ago, almost flippantly, but it is an exciting venture because it provides a framework, a structure, the opportunity for schools to develop, for people within the schools to develop, and to have some sort of recognition of that, which is important, but also some clear road and map of how that development can take place, and the areas in which that development can take place, and the outcomes that might be achieved by that development. So it is exciting to anybody who's involved in the field.
What is our approach to quality assurance?
Well, the approach is that it is, well, I hate to use the word again, but that it's documented, okay? Because it's, what we have here is a program which is explicitly defined, which is explicitly set out, where the standards that institutions are working at or working towards are explicitly stated and explicitly set out. And the development through the standards can be systematically developed. So I think those, for me, the two most important characteristics are explicitness and systematicity. I'm not sure that that word exists, but that it should be systematic and it should be explicit. And I think, for me, that's what characterizes what has been done here.
That's right. And the other word that I'd add to that is it's methodical also.
Methodical.
Yeah, methodical. Mm-hmm. So a good word.
Oh, it's a wonderful word. That one exists. Yes.
Yes, I think having got so far, any questions? We'll come back to the questions we have got on our list, but any questions from the group here on the program? Or any questions on whatever they've been talking about?
Whatever that is.
Have you been listening? Okay. What areas of a school's work does it cover?
Okay then. We mentioned this, the areas of the school that it covers. We talked about 4 areas and 10 standards. Can you remember any of the standards that we mentioned?
The areas.
Yeah? Syllabus. Okay, so we've got syllabus, Resources? Assessment? Teacher development programs? Teacher qualifications? The management? Feedback? Well, underpinning all of it is action planning, yes. There are two other things that you haven't mentioned. Exactly, that's right. That you were talking about Olympic-sized, this is the example I always give, the Olympic-sized swimming pool, about sharing resources, that kind of thing. So one of the things that we look at, the last thing that we look at, is how you promote yourself. So if you say to your students and your parents, and your prospective students and parents, that you have an Olympic-sized swimming pool, then you should have one. That's one of the...
Absolutely right.
It is,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And the other one that we didn't mention, which I suppose is teacher performance. So what teachers actually do in the classroom.
Sorry, all of
Sorry.
those in relation to English language teaching.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
So
the Olympic-sized swimming
If you
pool.
say you
good
have a
example.
language lab which is equipped with the state-of-art technology, then it needs to be there. One wouldn't be really looking for the swimming pool, or as some people feel disappointed, we're not even looking at that beautiful decorated library. We'd love to do it, but there just isn't time enough. We've got to focus on the English language program of your school.
That's right. And just one final point on that, that we're looking at systems. We're not looking, for example, at the marks of your students, for example. What we're interested in is what systems you have in place, what practices you use to give the best opportunity for your students to get the highest marks. We're not actually interested in those marks themselves.
Would anyone like to ask anything about the program or the standards? Yes, Amul?
How much does it cost? Well, in your packs, there's a full price list, right, for all
Taking
of the
off
things.
from what Mr. Pandey said.
That's right. Yes, exactly. They're covering all of the things that we do. They're all in your packs. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Trialing.
Does your question mean, have we done any research to find out whether going through this quality assurance scheme, that the quality assurance scheme will mean necessarily that your students get better marks and that more students will come to your school? Okay. It's a very difficult question to answer at the launch of the program, but it is two very, very pertinent questions. And if we can draw on the experience of Accreditation UK, which we spoke about this morning, about its impact, then there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that the continued membership, the expanding membership of the accreditation scheme in the UK is a testament to the value that those schools who are part of the scheme attach to the scheme. So I can't say for India at this stage that we have concrete, analysed results that it will improve your student outcomes and it will persuade more students to come to. I can't say that because we haven't started yet, all right? But that's the first thing that we'll be checking, yes. Our experience from the UK suggests that there's an overwhelming yes answer to both those questions.
Okay. Anything else to do with the areas of a school's work? Or are we through? Right. What is the quality standards framework?
Well,
That's a difficult one.
the framework is in the document which is in your pack, which I've referred to already. And the framework itself is the definition of the standards in each of the 10 areas which John and I and Hugh have outlined. So in each of those 10 areas, there is a definition of performance, if you like, that the scheme provides for. And that definition covers a range of levels, so that in the area of let's say, of syllabus and schemes of work, you can start off at one end of the scale with a sort of basic awareness that there is something called a syllabus, but actually in your school there isn't very much of one of those. You've heard of this term, you know sort of what it means, and one day you'll get round to writing one, but it's not there at the moment. That's down at the basic level, the awareness level. And then that goes up through graduated, staged increments, if you like, in your, as an organization, your awareness and competence and skill in working in this area, and until you reach a level up at level 4 on the 5-level scale, where you are integrating all this knowledge and skill and awareness that you have about syllabus. You're integrating that into the work of the school on a regular daily basis, so that all your classes, all your English classes, have got very nicely designed syllabuses specifying learner outcomes and specifying the stages through which the teaching and the learning is going to take place. And then beyond that, you can move up to level 5, which is a leadership level, where your school is so good at designing syllabuses, and you're so proud of the syllabuses that you've designed, that you can actually take on a leadership role in sharing that knowledge and that awareness and that expertise around the profession. So that in each of the 10 areas, the framework specifies what the characteristics of each level, from the lowest level to the highest level of skill in this area, what those are. And it characterizes those explicitly. It describes them explicitly.
That's right. So the document as a whole is a description of what a good school should be doing and what a good school can do. Yeah. That's the overall description in there.
What areas of a school work?
We've done that one.
Okay, we've been there. Why are we going? Okay.
Going backwards.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay, the Quality Standards Programme. There's a brochure that explains everything that's included in that programme in your conference bags. So, there are 3 main things that we do in the programme. We've spent all of this session talking about the quality standards, about the quality assurance, and that's one element of what we do. I was saying before that we have resources available that are linked to the framework that we've developed that help institutions think about and develop what they do. In line with that, we have a consultancy service as well that's part of the program, where we are able to offer advice, right, to help institutions think about what they need to do in order to meet the standards that are laid down in the framework. It's advice, it's action planning, and it's developmental resources. And in addition to the quality assurance mechanism, and in addition to the consultancy service, we have 2 other main areas of work, and this today is one of them, that we're interested in advancing the debate about quality assurance. We're interested to find out whether or not that framework, for example, is a good framework. Is it pertinent? Is it relevant? We're interested in hearing from various stakeholders from the CBSE, for example, from the NCERT, from NCT, what they are doing at the state level, at the national level, to address issues of quality in education. So that's another area what we're doing. We talked about teacher associations. There's one final area which it relates specifically to teachers, and they are to do with teacher training courses that we have available. So inside your pack, there's a full description of all of those things that are part of the program. How do you get involved in the Quality Standards program? Again, the instructions about what to do next, the different steps to follow, who to contact, who will help you, who will set up a meeting, all of those things, they're in your pack. Anything you want to know?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
You'd like to speak about that?
That's right, the quality standards mark. So, go through all of this process. You take a decision, you think, actually, yes, I'm quite interested, I want to do this. Advise, use the resources, go through the quality assurance review, and at the end of it, as well as all of the developmental aspects that are part of the program, then if you're operating at a certain level, level 4 on the framework, then that mark there, the quality standards mark, is the way that schools are able to demonstrate the recognition that they've reached that particular standard.
Can I just add to that? Because you mentioned in passing the review, and we haven't actually talked about that very much, so we should do that before we think about finishing. The basis on which you become eligible to use this mark in connection with your school is on the basis of a review of your school, which takes place with 2 external reviewers coming to your school to look at the documentation, to talk to people, and to observe some of the teaching. And the reviewers will spend 2 days in your school meeting the right people, meeting all the people, looking at all the documentation, and observing the teaching. And they will be looking to see whether or not you are operating at level 4 of our framework in each of the areas that it covers. And if you are, then on the basis of a report which is written after the visit, you will be eligible to use this mark on your publicity, well, in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
But that's how the eligibility is conferred.
I think there were some concerns about the flexibility in terms of, when can you get on board and the time you can take between the diagnostic visit and the actual review.
Okay, that's a difficult question to answer with complete exactness, let's say. So, there are some things in the quality standards framework, well, most of the things in the quality standards framework, most of the schools, I imagine, who are present here, will already be doing. And it's a question simply of confirming that you're already doing them. There are other things which are part of the internationalization, part of the international aspect of the framework that probably most schools will not already be doing. There's no reason for you to be already doing them. So, depending on where you are at the start of the process, then determining how long it will take you to be doing the kinds of things that you would need to be doing to be at level 4, right? Those 2 things are related. A rule of thumb, though, is that there would probably, on average, be a period of between 3 to 6 months or so from taking a self-diagnostic test, a consultancy, looking at the resources, and getting ready for the review. So it's that kind of time scale. That's the question?
And the time to begin is now?
The time to begin is now, yes. The time to begin is now, right now. Yes,
so
exactly.
what is the self-diagnostic? Yes, Samuel?
Yeah. It's valid for 2 years, yeah.
What is the self-diagnostic test? Would you like to speak about that?
Okay, yes. As a starting point to the whole process, on our website there's an online self-diagnostic test. And there's a range of questions which are linked to the quality standards framework. And the principal or the head of department answers those questions, and that will generate a report. And the report will indicate, it's an indication only, it's your own appreciation of where you are currently on the framework. And that's the beginning of the process, because that will tell you what you need to do, an indication of what you need to do, and it will tell us also what areas that you are currently operating at level 4 and what areas you need to think about, reflect on, and probably change in some respect. Okay, and that self-diagnostic test is live on our website. So probably in terms of next steps,
What is the consultancy service?
Okay. Well, I've spoken a little bit about the consultancy, so I can expand on that, though. Just to finish the next steps, then, the next step is to go to our website. The information is in your pack, and have a look in detail at what it is, what we're doing, and if you want to take it further, then to take the self-diagnostic test, and that will give you a very good idea of where you are.
What are the consultancy service resources?
You're moving too quickly. I'm too slow. That's the last question first.
Because I'm looking at the time.
Okay. All right. The consultancy service, that is an on-site visit. So we will come to your school and we will spend a day with you. And we will look at your teachers' teaching. We'll look at the documentation that you have currently. And we will talk to your students, your parents, and your teachers. And from that, we'll generate a report and help you put together an action plan.
Yeah, can I just go back? Just go back to the previous area in a way about the self-diagnostic test, because a number of people in the audience here will know because they've been involved in this. But for the last week, John and I and the team of reviewers have been trialing this process by going round a number of schools and looking at how it works in practice. And one of the pieces of feedback that I've received this week in almost every school that I've visited is that doing that self-diagnostic test online has been extremely valuable and extremely interesting in its own right for the school, particularly if the head of department and a couple of teachers and the principal, if you look at this self-diagnostic test as a group and use it as a trigger to think, what do we do at the moment in this area? What are we actually doing? And for a number of schools said to us that this is actually the first time we've sat down and reviewed and thought in a systematic way, what are we doing in these areas? And the answers were often very revealing and very interesting. But the process of doing that, with the head of department, the principal, a couple of teachers, whoever's involved, that process is extremely interesting in terms of raising awareness, raising insights, and getting people to think about what is actually happening in the English department of the school.
Okay, so the consultancy service resources, okay, they are online resources, and they're linked to each of the standards, and their texts and videos and tasks that go with the text and the videos that look at, for example, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. What is it? What does it do? How do you use it to write learning outcomes? How do you use it to write assessment tests? Teaching mixed ability classes, for example. How do you prepare documents that will enable differentiated learning to take place in the classroom? A whole range of things that relate to our framework.
And I think we'd like to end with this. What is the English Language Quality Standards Membership Network?
Okay then. So, if you go through the whole of that process, okay, and 2 reviewers, they come to your school, teaching, level 4. Syllabus, level 4. Resources, level 4, etc., etc., etc. You've got level 4 on a 5-point scale in all of the 10 standards that we set in our framework. Then you will be eligible to join the membership network. Okay? The value and the benefits, that whole process, which could take, as I said, 3, 6, 9 months, depending on where you are, that whole process will be, we believe very, very strongly, of an enormous developmental benefit. And at the end of the process, to the rest of the world, you'll be able to say that you're part of a family of schools which have been visited and reviewed by the British Council and able to advertise yourselves as such using the quality standards mark, which we'd perhaps like to see again.
You would?
Well, I quite like it.
Yeah,
There we go. All right. In that way. Okay.
Okay, we'll end on that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank
Are there any questions or anything like that you would like to ask before we close?
Suppose at the year end, if all the students are not able to reach to the level 4, all the students of the, because the assessment will be made on the basis of the students' performance only.
No? No?
Only on the basis of the documentation.
No, we're not looking at the students.
No. What we're looking at are the systems that help deliver improved student performance. The student performance itself, their marks, we don't look at their marks, no. Yeah, sure, yes.
When we say that we're looking at systems, the three pieces of evidence that we use to triangulate our analysis of what the school systems are documentary evidence, observation of teachers teaching in the classroom, and speaking to various stakeholders such as teachers, students, and parents. That's the evidence. What we're checking is systems. And we firmly believe that if quality is systemized in the school, then it percolates down to the teacher's performance, to satisfaction, to student outcomes, and to parent satisfaction. So essentially, that's what we're looking, how systemized the school is in terms of the way it runs its English language programs.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and there are our details there.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I think we have. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And the tea and coffee served at the back there. Oh, well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for Nilam. Okay. Nilam, okay. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Huh? Well done. Well done.